Okay, we're going to call to order this February 9th, 2023 agenda review for our regular council meeting. We do have a few things on the agenda for today beyond looking at our agenda. We're going to get a Police Department strategic planning session from Police Chief Billy Thomas. We've got to look at a incentive request proposal from Adventure Development. We're going to have a discussion about contracted code enforcement, a presentation by our Planning and Economic Development Director, James Sullivan, and we're going to chit-chat about a Selma tourism budget as well. And then we'll go to look at the agenda. So with that being said, we'll jump into some strategic planning with the police department. Chief Thomas.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Hope you all are doing good this evening.
Very well, sir. Good evening.
I'd like to start out with our mission statement. Just that. Our department is committed to fairness and compassion and excellence and sensitive to priorities to our community. And we feel like we're moving toward the future, but we're set as the future is now. We're already in the future. Our core values, protection of life, property is our highest priority, and we want to respect the rights of citizens, have courtesy and compassion with everyone, and be ambassadors to our Selma citizens. Also strive for excellence in delivery of police services, and use the training, technology, and innovation that goes along with that to improve and achieve that goal. We're sensitive to the community's priorities and needs. We want to enforce the law impartially and recognize the individual worth of each member within our department. And going back to number one, the protection of life and property as being our highest priorities, that's number one. The NIBRS report that you get on a monthly basis that's put in your folder, though there's about 40 categories. It's called a National Incident-Based Reporting System. It's required by law, and we end up sending that information to local, state, and federal agencies, and they collect that data. So that's not anything we come up with. We fulfill those 40 categories, and so that they can do analysis of that. Last year, we had a 51% increase. We answered 11,357 calls. That's a lot of calls. We just got our January total for, that may not have been dumped in your box quite yet, but we had a 69% increase for the month of January, 1,036 calls that we service calls for the town. So we're on track if we keep going that way of answering over 12,000 calls this coming year. So we're rocking and rolling as a police department. Council strategic goals, pretty much you all pretty much know we honor y'all's strategic goals pretty much. We want a safe, economical town for all our residents, businesses, and industries and tourists. We want it to be a people-friendly community and operate and maintain the towns. We recognize what you're providing for us at a reasonable cost and provide customer service delivery for the citizens of Selma. On the next page, it's this is what we're required for training for this year, 2022-2023. It's our in-service training requirements that's put forth by the Department of Justice Training and Standards. And I highlight there's about 11 of those, but 4 of them pay attention to is ethics, preempting misconduct, and increasing integrity, accountability and use of force, reporting writing, enhancing community policing, and duty to intervene. Those are important things to keep in mind because in December 1st, 2021, Senate Bill 300 was passed by the North Carolina legislature, and these are things that they expect all law enforcement officers to be aware of and by law to do these things, and that's part of our training. Another thing to note about this is these are, if we don't get all this training in, we won't be a sworn officer after the calendar year. It's mandatory, it's required. These are important things to keep our license as a sworn officer. Key expectation and priorities. We want to be a town and community partner, nurturing trust within our community. You're seeing a lot of officers getting out and trying to get out with people within the community and interacting with them. I actually had a couple of Girl Scout troops want to come to the police department because they got a picture of guys over the weekend getting out with Troop 1092. So they're getting out, they're spending time at our local schools. And so I'm real proud of the community policing that they're trying to do. Part of our parks, we're starting to put that. We check doors on our businesses, the north side, south side, all areas of town. We've included the parks as a part of a night check on nighttime. We want to be able to retain and recruit diversity among our staff. We're working hard towards that, and then be able to get our employees training, development, and have a succession plan as we move in the future, putting the key pieces in the right places as we grow. We're constantly evaluating the department's needs, staffing, the data, the service delivery, and the strategic goals and best practices of policing. Our key expectation and priorities are to have short and long-term solutions, improve morale, retention, recruitment, and position department. We want to be a model competitor in Johnston County, and we feel like we're up there moving toward the top. People are asking, what are you doing at Selma? How come you're full now? So we're pleased. We're about 99% full. We've made great progress. We've hired 8 people in the last year and a half. So we're real pleased with where we are. We want to be able to establish and uphold culture of equity and transparency and accountability. Feel like that morale drives recruitment. Morale is at an all-time high right now, and it doesn't hurt when you got nice vehicles rolling in with brand new state-of-the-art equipment. And retention. And it's established a positive working culture. Overview of the goals and objectives. Our new vehicle plan implementation that we have in place right now with the vehicles that we have in reduces our 365 24/7 driving wear and tear on the vehicles as we work toward a program. The way that's working right now, that rotations, when they work Monday and Tuesday, those vehicles are going to rest on Wednesday and Thursday. Then the vehicle will be put back on the road on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the other vehicles will rest. So it's half the year it'll be driven until we get to the take-home program on the next phase. This is a game changer. Us instituting the BLET program changed a lot. It was like I said, a big game changer. We got, 2 years ago, we were able to pay for their schooling, and once they become sworn, they got their beginning salary. We've been lucky to go 4 out of 4. That's one whole squad with the BLET program. So I feel that was a game changer for our town to be able to pay for them. Otherwise, we may not have those positions filled because everybody's fighting for employees. We've partnered, we're doing a grant program with the Governor's Highway Safety Program. You're going to see a lot of activity out there. It's a great tool, and we're able at this coming October, we'll get a list of things and we'll be able to achieve getting equipment at no cost, and they'll provide a list. Sometimes it's radar, maybe it's a speed trailer. We don't know what will be on the list, but we're working toward trying to get equipment through this program. And we want to work towards having Selma PD officers in our elementary and our middle schools. That's a goal. And hopefully we can negotiate a fully covered grant. I think we should. If other grants can cover other schools, then I think they should be able to cover Selma schools. Continued on overall goals and objectives, we want to provide as much specialized training. The specialized training is beyond the scope of the in-service requirements. These are the extras to make them better officers and put all the knowledge and tools in their toolkit. And in some of the examples, radar, operator school, DWI, community police, and crisis intervention, search warrant, field training, first line supervision. A lot of these schools are 40-hour classes, so it was tough when we were short because you got to cover your town and your citizens, but you also, so now it's fun. We're in a good shape right now. The command staff, we've got probably the next 6 or 7 months of classes for these officers to attend all of these. They've started the beginning of this year on through to July, August, being booked in classes, specialized training either at the college or in Wilson. We want to provide new equipment for the officers to put on the toolkit, and then we want to reorganize our K-9 SAMU to a different handler and put him on the patrol division, so that we want to be able to do that. We're working on, hopefully, Ms. Summer told us today that we'll try to get them in the May 15th class, so we'll be able to get them trained. We already, I think, have adequate housing for the K-9. SWOT analysis. I, too, am a strong advocate of the SWOT analysis. It's utilized by many first responders, and it's also used in the business organizational structure. I'm pleased to announce that my command staff has come in here to support me, make sure I did this right. So anyway, we've got a command staff with 75 years of combined law enforcement experience, and I'm proud of that. We also have our advanced law enforcement certification, and in our line of work, that's the gold standard in our profession, and also it counts toward taxes through the league of municipality. It helps reduce things when you start talking about the league and that type of thing, having that type of credential. We have a very strong mutual aid partnership with our local agencies. Proud of the working relationship. Very good relationship with our Sheriff's Department and also Smithfield and other surrounding counties or agencies. We have a good alliance with the community college system, JCC, and also Wilson have been good partners and tried to look and get us the proper types of schools that we need so that we can, kind of keep it here in the county without having to travel long distances. Without doubt, we have 110% support. We want to thank you for the 110% support that you have given first responders. It's greatly appreciated with public safety. We want to be we're able to, another strength we'd like to talk about is the ability to be able to meet the high standard from the Department of Justice, the North Carolina Criminal Justice and Standards Commission. We have to follow their rules. It doesn't get any more stringent than following the Department of Justice and the North Carolina Criminal Justice Commission. Real proud of our evidence room, which we expanded about a year and a half ago. We've had a couple of agencies come in just to look at our evidence room because it's grown over the years and it's quite organized, and they wanted to mirror image what we were doing in our evidence room and get a program in order to. Some of that stuff will be here probably 50 years or longer when you're keeping up with evidence, depending on the nature of the evidence you're keeping. Weaknesses, we're not perfect, we're human, but we recognize our weaknesses. And basically, we have a very inexperienced, less experienced group of officers, but they're eager to learn and be trained, which means they haven't had a chance to get the training, but they're getting the training. So we're doing a good job of that. Same with our supervisors. You know, that's why we're trying to get them in first line supervision and field training officer positions so that they can pass on their knowledge going forward. Now, national studies, and there's a number of them out there. National studies indicate that staffing, there should be four officers per 1,000 residents, and you know we're right at 7,000. So if you use the number say 28 officers, but they vary anywhere from 2.8 to 4, but 4 is the standard. We don't have a take-home program, but we're getting close. I think if going forward, if we keep doing like we did this past year. Other agencies have used that as a tool against us and leverage when it came to salaries, and it's hard to you know convince somebody to come to you when you're getting that extra type of incentive. But we've been able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So we don't have an SR program in our town, but hopefully that's about to change. And then, like I said, we have some limited specialized training, but they've got a full plate, and all the way through August, they're already enrolled. The command staff's done a good job getting them all they need. Opportunities, we continue to have a strong mutual aid partnership with neighboring agencies. We want to start back our Citizens Police Academy. That got put on hold, our last class that we had with that, and it wasn't age related. Anybody could come to it from, you know, 10, 12, an adult. Just, you know, we had that in the past. COVID kind of put the brakes on that. But we're looking to try to start that back up again. Obviously, grant opportunities are out there. That's why we went to the North Carolina with the Governor's Highway Safety Program. Also, we want to, in our new building, which is in the future, we want to be able to provide a public safety building that has a storage facility for special case circumstances on seized vehicles. And then the command staff had come to me and, you know, about implementing maybe a career step ladder program for an Officer 1, which is a beginning officer, Officer 2, and Officer 3 to kind of motivate them when it comes to doing their job. Threats, I hope we never have to deal with any threats, but you have to be prepared. My public threats I'm concerned about is active shooters. I hope it never comes to us, but that concerns me. Mental health, human trafficking, and homeless camps is another thing that is a concern or a threat. And then the political leadership, that can be a dynamic if it changes and the support isn't there. We've had absolute support the last 2 years, but,
We're going to try to stick around.
well, that would be nice. I can tell you that'd be great. Positive nature of growth, the good thing is growth, but the bad thing is criminal activity comes with growth. And we happen to be the center point on the East Coast, dead center point from Portland, Maine to Miami, Florida. We are the dead center point on the East Coast with major interstates coming through here, three major interstates and a fourth one about to change and become Interstate 42. That brings more accidents. We probably average 30 to 35 accidents a month. So that brings more accidents, more traffic. We also have CSX and Norfolk Southern trains traveling daily, carrying dangerous liquids. And of course, you all know what's happening in Ohio. They had flammable liquid spill. I'm just glad that wasn't Selma, but I pray for those because that was a bad disaster. And also I'm concerned with the legal system regarding accountability on criminals, specifically juveniles. There's been an uptick, especially where juveniles are concerned on criminal activities. That's a concern. We're at the Q&A portion to kind of talk about some of the things that you might be interested in. Our accreditation, Selma Police Department is accredited by the standards set forth by the North Carolina Criminal Justice Commission, and then we're audited regularly. We have to abide by a stringent set of rules. They come down, they audit us. If not, they'll strip our sworn status. You won't have a police force. You'll have to be calling Sheriff Bizzle. So we have to abide by stringent accreditation standards. The training is enforced by the state. Specialized training goes beyond the scope of what we're, in-service training. All of our instructors are trained through the North Carolina Justice Academy and North Carolina Community College system, and they must abide by the lesson plans established by the state, from the state. So the lesson plans are set down by the state, by the Department of Justice. The type of, we have crisis intervention team training, which is a 40-hour class for handling crisis calls, mental illness, intellectual disabilities, alcohol, substance abuse. We have 10 officers that have that training. This is the pin displayed here is what you get to recognize you when you go out in the field. When you're with Alliance Behavior Health, it gives them a common effect that you convey the type of training that's needed out in the field to kind of give them a calm presence. Continued on the next page, the weapons that we carry, we have Glock 17 9mm duty weapons that are issued to all officers. We also have Smith & Wesson M&P sport rifles that are issued to supervisors, and they are similar to the AR-15. And our officers, patrol officers, are trained using the Mossberg 590 pump-action shotgun. School resource officers for Selma Elementary School, Selma Middle School is achievable. We'll have to sit down. I have sent MOUs and contracts to kind of look at what's been sent down from the Johnson County school system. They would like to meet sometime next month to discuss that, and hopefully after July 1, the start of the next school season, they would like us to have that, but we need to be able to, it's going to require council, finance in order to get something that can be worked out, and I would hope we could get fully granted monies to put the officers in both schools. There's been a lot of activity the last week to 10 days in schools in our neighboring counties, so I think it's time
agree.
Our counseling, the resource that we have for critical incident counseling is the Employee Assistance Program. We have had one or two officers use that before. Also, the Alliance Behavior Healthcare, which coordinates with the college with doing a crisis intervention team training, and that's 24/7 access. And also emergency chaplains program that's been designed for all public safety within the community. There's a number of resources where that's concerned, and that's a good program they designed for public safety. And then I thought that was a kind of a good thing. I said, I got to put that on there. Henry Ford said, if everyone's moving forward together, then success will take care of itself. I said, agreed. Thank you, Henry.
Yeah.
So, and this is in closing, the state and the future of the Selma Police Department. I wanted to thank the council. Our leadership officers have been provided. I won't go over everything, and I think I forgot. There's about a dozen things there. I want to add that we also have cleaning services too. I forgot to add that in there. They can get their clothes clean. But we've turned the corner and boosted morale within the department. Officers now are seeing it. I know, you know, they get impatient, but when you see change and it finally comes to fruition, they're excited about the future. Officers are proactive. I just can't say enough about where we are now. Town leaders should be proud and excited as well for the future and direction. The staff for all their support. I would like to also thank you, my police department command staff and officers for all their support. And I think we have overcome more challenges than any prior administration since I've worked in this town. And I'm real proud of where we are. I'm confident that we're in the best shape and have the brightest future ahead of us by working together.
We appreciate it.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Council?
Yeah, can I go back to SROs?
Yes, sir.
When you're talking about these new people, is that actually a new employee?
She came in, starting in kindergarten, and she, we sang, I didn't realize we didn't talk French, we
Yeah.
sang songs and some of those
Alouette, Jonty, Alouette, Alouette, Jonty, Blueberry. It all came back to me when I started working for a restaurant called O'Charlie's. Our kitchen.
To fairness and compassion and excellence and sensitive to priorities to our community. And we feel like we're moving toward the future, but we're set as the future is now. We're already in the future. Our core values, protection of life, property is our highest priority. And we want to respect the rights of citizens, have courtesy and compassion with everyone, and be ambassadors to our Selma citizens. Also strive for excellence in delivery of police services, and use the training, technology, and innovation that goes along with that to improve and achieve that goal. We're sensitive to the community's priorities and needs. We want to enforce the law impartially and recognize the individual worth of each member within our department. And going back to number one, the protection of life and property as being our highest priorities, that's number one. The NIBRS report that you get on a monthly basis, that's put in your folder, though there's about 40 categories. It's called a National Incident-Based Reporting System. It's required by law, and we end up sending that information to local, state, and federal agencies, and they collect that data. So that's not anything we come up with. We fulfill those 40 categories, and so that they can do analysis of that. Last year, we had a 51% increase. We answered 11,357 calls. That's a lot of calls. We just got our January total for, that may not have been dumped in your box quite yet, but we had a 69% increase for the month of January, 1,036 calls that we, service calls for the town. So we're on track, if we keep going that way, of answering over 12,000 calls this coming year. So we're rocking and rolling as a police department. Council strategic goals, pretty much, you all pretty much know, we honor your all's strategic goals pretty much. We want a safe, economical town for all our residents, businesses, and industries and tourists. We want it to be a people-friendly community and operate and maintain the towns. We recognize what you're providing for us at a reasonable cost, and provide customer service delivery for the citizens of Selma. On the next page, it's this is what we're required for training for this year, 2022-2023. It's our in-service training requirements that's put forth by the Department of Justice Training and Standards. And I'll highlight, there's about 11 of those, but one, you don't straighten up, you're out, you owe us money for you know. And so far, we're 4 out of 4.
Excellent.
Very nice.
I had one other question about have you had any instances where the CIT actually had to do something?
We've had,
Okay.
we've had one where it came into play. We had a missing person about 2 years ago that got missing, that our command staff worked diligently on with that. You also have to use that with your homeless camps, your drug abusers.
Right.
You also have to be able to do it when it comes to environmental involuntary commitments. Sometimes we have to take 2 officers, or if the ambulance wants somebody, we have to put an officer in the ambulance with them. Sometimes they can be violent. So, yeah, we've used it.
So one more question, out of service officers that get hurt, I pray we don't get anyone that gets hurt, so that puts a crunch on your schedule as well, right?
It does, someone's gotta fill that role.
Yeah, so that takes away a person.
And it is proposing that we reimburse them for improvements to the Vic building, 103 South Rayford and the 101, 100 South Rayford. This includes architectural drawings at $4,000, architect work at $2,000, demolition of $1,000, mechanical work for $1,000, an electric hood for $2,000, the hood system, including the fire suppression equipment, $28,000, undersink grease trap, an ADA restroom, $3,500, natural gas piping to kitchen equipment, $2,000, permitting for all the above, $2,500, HVAC unit for the 103 South Rayford for the restaurant, $18,424, the installation of that system, $5,000, and then an HVAC unit for 101 South Rayford, $13,648, and that installation at $5,000 for a total of $88,072. So I throw it back to council if you would like to make any grant awards for these requests.
Well, I know, council, as far as the list of, we wouldn't have any type of agreement before July.
Okay.
103 South Rayford and the 101, 100 South Rayford. This includes architectural drawings at $4,000, architect work at $2,000, demolition of $1,000, mechanical work $1,000, an electric hood for $2,000, the hood system, including the fire suppression equipment, $28,000, undersink grease trap, an ADA restroom, $3,500, natural gas piping to kitchen equipment, $2,000, permitting for all the above, $2,500, HVAC unit for the 103 South Rayford for the restaurant, $18,424, the installation of that system, $5,000, and then the HVAC unit for 101 South Rayford, $13,648, and that installation, $5,000 for a total of $88,072. So I throw it back to council if you would like to make any grant awards for these requests.
Well, I know, council, as far as the list of types of businesses that we are willing to incentivize, restaurant is definitely at the top of them. But with that being said, just an initial glance here, I first would suggest that we only incentivize items that you would say are really directly related to a restaurant. You know, HVAC is any building. You know, I don't think we need to start incentivizing those type things.
I was wondering what the 101 was when I first saw it.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, at a glance, it looks like what might be more restaurant related. We're sitting around 40, $43,000. I would say in that, we're looking at electric hood, grease traps, natural gas piping, the architecture that goes along with that, mechanical items.
Members of council, good evening. So presented before you is an action item requesting to initiate a 3-month trial contract for code enforcement services provided by Alliance Code Enforcement. As you can see on the slide, Planning and Human Resources, we actually met with the local company, Alliance Code Enforcement, concerning our vacant code enforcement position right now and the lack of viable applicants that we've had. Alliance is a company that contracts by the hour to rectify code violations. They've been successful in numerous North Carolina municipalities across the state. And as you can see, they provide services and minimum housing standards, overgrown lots, accumulation of junk and trash, storage, abandoned white goods, and many other services. They have a full gamut of violations that they will work off of, along with what the town supplies them as well. Based on the breakdown provided, with the current hourly rate at $40 an hour, what their contract is, 16 hours a week broken down into 4-hour days. Alliance would cost about $7,680 for a 3-month trial period versus the $14,164 for a full-time staff member at the same time frame. Next slide. And then as shown, based on the current code enforcement salary, including the benefits they receive, the potential for saving each month grows throughout the year, so the potential for savings is instrumental. So in conclusion, staff recommendation would be to initiate a 3-month trial contract with Alliance before we move into a long-term adjustment. Any questions?
Okay, this, the trial period,
Code enforcement. As you can see on the slide, Planning and Human Resources, we actually met with the local company, Alliance Code Enforcement, concerning our vacant code enforcement position right now and the lack of viable applicants that we've had. Alliance is a company that contracts by the hour to rectify code violations. They've been successful in numerous North Carolina municipalities across the state. And as you can see, they provide services and minimum housing standards, overgrown lots, accumulation of junk and trash, storage, abandoned white goods, and many other services. They have a full gamut of violations that they will work off of, along with what the town supplies them as well. Based on the breakdown provided, with the current hourly rate at $40 an hour, what their contract is, 16 hours a week broken down into 4-hour days. Alliance would cost about $7,680 for a 3-month trial period versus the $14,164 for a full-time staff member at that same time frame. Next slide. And then as shown, based on the current code enforcement salary, including the benefits they receive, the potential for saving each month grows throughout the year, so the potential for savings is instrumental. So in conclusion, staff recommendation would be to initiate a 3-month trial contract with Alliance before we move into a long-term adjustment. Any questions?
okay, this, the trial period, we will probably have to have some measurements to see what we're getting, just what's going on. So that'd be good to have something that, that shows what he done for the 3 months, what he or she have done in the 3 months. We need some kind of measure to say, what's what, But buzzing in there.
Do we have a decent current database of some of our problem areas?
So right now, currently, we operate off of an Excel spreadsheet, and it's just tracked as to how the code violations come in, and I can search that. What Mr. Emery presented for him, their company does do their own version of a database, and essentially that report is shared to us as to what they do, and it's tracked by the violation, how they push it out, what their procedures are, and tracked. So it's something that would be shared with us as to how their database is set up, to answer your question, Council Scrubber. That way we can track what their movements is. And then on top of that, Mr. Emery did relay that if we did have a issue that we wanted to pursue or say, hey, we want you to guide down this direction, then that would just be who the assigned code enforcement officer is to us. We would kind of have that overview as well to say, hey, this is essentially what we want you to focus on, compared just to a blanket.
And to circle back to Mayor Pro Tem Scarborough's kind of question, what would be our measurement internally to say, hey, this is successful? What do you envision?
So essentially, with me coming on board, our standard that we kind of set was 25 a week for our previous code enforcement officer. So I did say, hey, do 5 violations a day. Essentially, they're going to gather much more than that, essentially. And that's why they're saying a 4-hour block for them, spending a half a day at a time could really garner some good numbers for us as far as how they're moving around. They don't do the military style, so it's not going to be coming in and just attacking a massive area. Essentially, it would be one of those, hey, if we drive down 123 Main Street today, we're going to hit everything going down Main Street. And then that gets cataloged and tracked. And then as you move to the next street, they start cataloging going down. So we would see
Absolutely. Okay. Very good.
So if we do it on a temporary 3 months, what's liabilities to the town?
So Alliance is their own separate entity. They're a private company. So we do not have to cover any kind of insurance or any commitments for them. It's just a contracted basis. They provide their own setup for us. And essentially, after 3 months, if we decide, hey, this is something we want to pursue, then we would move into a long-term contract. After 3 months of that trial contract, we decide we don't want to pursue it, and no harm, no foul.
So in the 3 months, you said they would come in with their own vehicle? Or
Yes, sir. They provide their own vehicle. They dress in uniforms, so they're up to standard.
Do they work with the local building department, the county building department, rather, or do you act as a liaison between them and the county building?
That conversation was not had as far as how they coordinate with it, but I would prefer that I would be the liaison in between those. I think anytime they would move outside of the town of Selma, I feel like I would need to be at least kept in the loop as a liaison.
Because I understand we do have maybe more than one project where the county building department is possibly doing some action on a particular case,
Yes, sir.
I do prefer the idea of you being the connection to the county, certainly with our partners, staff, more so than, say, a consultant, is important to me. So,
Yes, sir.
I agree with that, but when it comes down to new building, are we meeting all the new building codes? Is that gonna be our guys gonna take a look for that?
I don't think they would be, this code enforcement consultant would do that. That would be the way county comes out, and if I'm mistaken, county comes out and does all the building inspections and permitting as far as new construction is concerned.
I think our main thing is trying to get these residentials, all those violations around town are settling. Our money is almost spent there. Like you said, when I go to do the little things, the little things will be just fine.
That's right.
Our thing is trying to get this town violation taken care of. So,
I think for our standpoint, 3 months, we should be able to see the difference.
yeah.
Okay. Council, what do you think? Tell staff to go forth with this experiment?
Sounds clean and concise.
Yes, it does.
I have to turn back, are we okay with the budget for that?
Actually, based on what we were paying the previous staff person, this would save us money.
Okay.
You saying these guys go and do a good job, you saying that almost like a code job would be almost out to I call it outside crew.
Yes, sir. It would be privatized.
Okay.
All right. Sounds like a go for it.
Let's give it a shot.
Go for it. Bring us back a contract to look at, and we'll go from there, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tourism budget. Let's talk about tourism.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you do have the proposed marketing or the Selma Tourism Marketing Committee's budget for 23-24 fiscal year. Each item is detailed with explanations and notes. If you do have any questions, I will answer to the best of my ability.
Council.
Well, I mean, obviously, to me, the biggest thing is the biggest price tag on the budget. I mean, on the proposal. And, I just want to know, do we have any measurements of how this particular billboard and billboard is actually producing for us?
We have actually asked for statistics on those billboards and have not received them.
Okay, I mean, what's the holdup?
I can find that information out for you. I will do my best to get that for you.
Mr. McKay, I think we also asked for that too, and we have not got it either.
I found all of these line items did not understand any of what was being sought after. I understand if you're gonna use billboards, I understand, you're coming from the north. Okay, I know from the south, there's a lot of construction. You still have billboards.
Right.
However, the Google AdWords, $5,000, Facebook, $5,000. You have the Selma Railroad Days. Well, I saw that mentioned twice. I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't see Our State magazine in there anymore. That is a very popular magazine. Those ads are vibrant, bright at the very end of the magazine, month by month. You see what's going on, and it would be the responsibility of the person who's responsible for that to put those things in. That is a very popular magazine. I couldn't understand that. Your Here brochure reprint, Network Solutions, what are Camel City posters? There was a lot in here that didn't make sense.
Yes, ma'am.
And,
Can I take some of those one by one if you'd like? Oz has just been appointed as the liaison for the committee, and the chair of the committee is here as well, Mr. Hamilton. But I'll address a couple of those right off the top. The money for the Google and the Facebook, and I may not use the right vernacular here, but that is for boosting. So for instance, when we're having events in Selma, if you pay for notices on Google, they automatically come up first. So those are the ones that you see that little sponsored tag on when you're looking for something. And then the same thing with the Facebook. The ones that pop up repeatedly are the ones that have been sponsored. And so those aren't specific, there's no plan specifically to say we're going to do these particular events, but that's some money that's budgeted and can be spent for boosting any event that we have going on within the town. The split in the Railroad Days money is that part of it is for operations, which is the lower 5,000, and the upper 5,000 is for true marketing, because this money is designated by the legislature and has got to be used for tourism related. And so we've got to be really careful to make sure that we are promoting tourism and not just promoting the town, but the tourism. It is for that draw, since it's paid for with hotel tax dollars. The billboard, that was a discussion that was had at the tourism committee. It is a much reduced number from prior years. The committee overall felt like that we still needed to have some billboard presence, but it is a reduced presence. But as for statistics, the Don Bailey Taylor indicates that we would have to, basically, we'd have to hire somebody to give us statistical information because it's not being captured.
So there's no way that we know right now of whether that's actually even helping us or not.
I've asked the same question, and
I mean,
that's the
that's
answer.
what their department is, and they can't guesstimate, give us any sort of intelligent answer of.
She indicated at the meeting that I attended when that question was posed that we would have to hire somebody to provide that information.
Well, let's take it one more step. How many times did that billboard get changed in a year?
I don't know the answer to that question. There is money in the budget. That's like, I believe, the Camel City entry that you see there, which is for those skins. They're not painted anymore or shellacked like in the old days. They're actually a vinyl cover to the whole thing. And so if we want to change it, we have to pay to change it. If it blows away or if it rips in the wind, we have to pay for a new one. So there's a little bit of money in there to do that. Some of the things that the town has expressed at the meetings is that we had concerns about making sure that we're pointing folks to both exits for some of both 97 and 98, because it seems to be more of the literature and the billboards and whatnot pointing people just to 97. We wanted some in both areas. Some of these other brochures, I don't have the list in front of me, but some of these other brochures are for the racks at like the Visitors Bureau and at places they put up and down the interstate.
Like if we were going to a restaurant
Right.
and you saw the
Racks.
rack in the restaurant.
Ex-
Oh, well, we can go and do gem mining or.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, that's the rack system. Other things, let's see, that's a rack card. We actually have a Civic Center card that is being proposed as well. We've kind of got a layout for that now. Our Civic Center brochure has an old picture from when there was a for sale sign still in front of the building. So we need to up our game a little bit there. What else?
The annual events rack card with
Yeah,
all of our town events. And they have already sent us examples or proof of it. And we think they look spectacular, the Civic Center and annual events.
So that's gonna be 2,000. The annual events, that's 2,000. You got a reprint, a Selma brochure. I could go on about this. I don't know how much these things should cost, or are we getting a steal? I just, and even the wayfinding phase number 2, $25,000
Yes, that's the wayfinding signs.
that we have, that we just put up.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're looking at a phase 2 to put.
Adding more additional signs.
Right, phase one consisted of the development of 3 sign locations. And so I think phase two has an additional 3? Is that what's?
The best
Whoa, Mr. Hamilton. Glad you're here. Hold on just a minute.
I think it was an additional 3, but the wayfinding signs, the expense associated with the wayfinding signs is the right-of-way, the DOT encroachment agreement and chasing that part down. So I, like you, when I first saw the price involved in wayfinding signs, was a little alarmed at how much they were on a per sign basis. But it's a contractor that does all of that piece. So,
What we'll do is, we do actually have the chair of the tourism committee here.
yes.
And I think it'd be good to kind of get a perspective from the committee since this is their recommendation. So, Mr. Hamilton, please come on up and, let's get some thoughts here.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know I was going to have to speak. I talked to Donna about this. We do have a committee of 5 that was appointed and approved by the town council, so all the line items were going through in depth to give us the best bang for our buck. Which part do I need to go on? The wayfinding sign phase 2 was discussed that we fix a few gateway signs come into town, welcome to Selma. So when you start putting 3 of those up, you can spend $25,000 pretty quick.
So these wayfinding signs are not actual wayfinding signs, are they
Well,
actual gateway signs?
wayfinding project, part of that is gateway signs and trailblazing signs, which are smaller signs once you get into town to feed you over to the parking lot that you can't find, get you to the civic center.
So this, and I'm kind of reading it here, so it's either 4 to 6 new Trailblazer signs or 2 gateway signs is what we're doing.
Yes, because if we put that amount in the budget every year, then maybe eventually we can have a nice gateway set. Whereas other towns in this county have spent up to $250,000, $300,000 to get that project. And the first wave project sign we did, we've had feedback to improve those also. So it's a big, long process that I'm sorry you don't understand it all. And there's,
Yeah,
I
I'm very
understand why you
sorry
don't.
too that I don't understand.
Right. So, and that's why we're here to, help put something together that would be beneficial to the town. And we didn't go on we took the budget that the town had proposed and worked on it in that direction for what the town felt like they needed. And then our committee, we just kind of tear it apart to know where we can spend the amount of money, the line item is put under, because I believe the town has to verify where all the money is spent, how it's spent, the correct way for the tourism dollars. They are your dollars that are being spent.
Mr. Hamilton, do you have any information about the way this, I'm still stuck on this $20,250 for the billboards. Do you have any information about benefiting us or not? If has there been any kind of thing that you're aware of, you kind of gauge if we are?
I don't know the exact number of cars that travel down 95. That's the number that can be given to you. How many people gonna look up and see it? You'll never know that.
No,
number.
do we have any concrete method of gauging
No, sir.
if we are benefiting from that?
No, the only thing that's happened too on 95 is because people who travel 95 typically spend the night in a motel. And if we can get them to spend the night in our motels, that's where we make that 2% money that we're spending. So, it was discussed to put some, it was my idea, I wanted some on I-42. And it got shot down because people who travel I-42 are mostly beach to home. Majority, they're not looking a place to spend the night. Plus they're driving over Selma, so they know Selma's coming. So just 2 on 95 and the one down by the exit 98. When you come down to the bottom of the hill, there's a billboard there, a small one. We wanted to keep that, but my request was to have some people in town to help put those together because we care about Selma. We know what we want to bring to Selma. We've got people designing our billboards now that they don't live in Selma. They don't have Selma as their best interest. Good artists, no doubt, but we sit around and take.
But they're getting paid for their services,
Yes, ma'am.
and they're being approved by people who care for
Yes,
Selma.
that's true. And some of we have been lame duck for quite a while, I would say, but we're getting in gear because the town, you got in gear to put us on the right track.
Out of State Magazine, you're pretty keen on.
I just, I can't imagine. I know these are other things that you can touch.
Tell me what you would advertise in my state magazine to bring them to Selma.
Oh, gosh, well, let me get my pencil and paper out.
Just tell me one.
Well, first of all, you would advertise the Rudy. Then you would go in there during certain months. Even though I minored in marketing, that was a long time ago. I would probably put something in there about Selma Railroad Days. In the very back, and granted, I don't know how much it would cost, but in the back, they go through a month's time. Rocking on Reagan, and they have a date. So there are several different things that you could propose in there.
Yes, ma'am. And
Maybe it's just a personal thing. Maybe it's just my favorite magazine. Maybe it's just that I have and many of my friends have planned their vacations and planned events through our state magazine because it is a very vibrant magazine. Maybe it's because they advertise Johnston Memorial Hospital in there. I've had several friends' heart surgeries. I see people in there, a full page. And I'm sure Johnston Memorial Hospital or, their affiliated affiliates may have more money, but a lot of this that I'm seeing here, I want to make heads or tails out of.
So, and it's just a budget. Y'all can change it, you can add items, take items away. We were trying to stay in the budget range that we were given.
Right, but what I'm saying is, these things that money is to the right here, and we have, Simple View website. I'm trying to get an idea of what this is. I don't understand what I'm seeing in the written word, but I can see an amount. So that's what I'm trying to understand,
Okay, that website is,
what this is for.
we have a Selma brochure that, and on the website, when you search Selma, usually you're going to the Visitors Bureau page, but it's a page for Smithfield, Selma. And so the development of that page and keeping it all up to date is where that website fee comes in. And then there's